Good afternoon and welcome back, everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend and enjoying their Sunday afternoon at this point. Just doing a quick video. I actually went to a card show this morning. I want to do a recap of some things I was able to pick up. I went to the card show I go to at the beginning of the month here locally where I live in the Chicagoland area, out near the Woodfield Mall, which is in Schaumburg here in Illinois. As I've kind of mentioned before and I've done a video about it, it's predominantly filled with like individual collectors that are usually selling parts of their collection. There's a few dealers there, but often it's not their primary type of business. So it's kind of collector to collector kind of selling things primarily. And then what I've seen more often than not is just the balance of actually modern baseball cards in there. But every now and then I'm able to kind of find some vintage stuff. So that's what my story is today. It's kind of talking about some things I was able to pick up. I went around the show and they had one of the vintage dealers that are MC, who's a retired guy who's actually gotten into selling cards as sort of his second career just for fun. Primarily will deal in vintage, got some new cards this week. So I was able to kind of meet with him and get some cards from him. And then I went around the show and again, saw mostly modern stuff for sale. Saw very few vintage cards, period, in there. Sometimes people would have like one in their case. I did go past one other dealer that had some cards for sale that were like in the early 50s. But the prices were probably double what you'd expect to pay for those cards. And it seems like they'd been there for a while because I think I'd seen those before and actually were priced the same way. So I guess at some point, maybe he'll bring the price down where it might be something you might be able to strike a deal on. But it just wasn't even something I wanted to kind of approach because it seemed to be so far off from where I would even kind of jump in on it. But I did run across one table and I was able to pick up some cards there. And so I'm going to show you some things that I picked up based on that. Wanted to show you first something that came in yesterday afternoon. I did another Topps Living card. I did Albert Pujols. First card where he's pictured with the Cardinals. So I actually have the one with the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals. So the three teams he played with. This one's pretty cool. Just came out in January. It got delivered just yesterday. On the back, you actually have his full stat line, which is pretty cool because you can see the total home runs that are listed on there is 703. And it talks a little bit about his retirement after the end of the season that just passed here in 2022. So pretty cool card. I don't know how many of these were printed. You can actually look up the print runs on the Topps website. But I'm sure it was thousands because it's Albert Pujols in his final card in a Cardinal uniform. So it's probably not going to be something exceedingly rare, but I think it's kind of cool to go in with the sort of the Albert Pujols cards that I've been able to pick up. All right, back to the show. The first purchase I did had 3 of these all together at once and plus 152 Topps card, which I'll show you in a little bit. So I was able to pick up 3 Goudey cards from this guy. They're all commons, so nothing really kind of, earth-rattling, I should say, as far as like big names picking up here. But I think it was pretty cool just seeing 33 Goudeys at the show. And they're actually at prices you would expect to move. So when I saw them be about $10 a piece, I'm like, that's probably pretty good price for these cards from 1933. The first one I picked up was this the first of the 3 is Fred Bickle. He's probably the one that has the longest career of all the ones that are kind of listed here. Actually, no, there's 2 that have come to similar length in their career. He was primarily an outfielder, played with Pittsburgh and with Philadelphia Phillies. This is actually his final season in 1933, so this is a 33 Goudey card. As you can kind of see on the back, the traditional Goudey design with a little bit of narrative about the ball player, the Indian Gum Company listed below. Kind of a cool little image. It's probably the best condition of the ones I have. He was a career 281 hitter. He actually had a negative WAR of negative 2.2. So you don't see that too often, but it does happen. But he was one of the players that had it. Again, well before people really knew what WAR was. It didn't even exist at that point. So it wasn't really a measure of a player at that point. Another one was a Yankee, actually, Sam Bird. In here, another pictured here. I know this one kind of have to put it on an angle to kind of really capture it in there. This one, the colors don't pop out as well, which I think is kind of like pretty characteristic of 33 Goudeys. Unless you have really high grade, the colors sometimes don't really pop the way you really want them to. So this one, again, same in the back. Sam Bird was an outfielder, played with the Yankees and Reds, had a career average of 274. and had a career WAR of 2.5. Obviously, he was part of some World Series teams when he played with the New York Yankees. This last one I thought was pretty interesting. This guy was Walter Brown. And when I looked it up, he wasn't assigned to any major league team during the 1933 season. I talked a little bit about him having tryouts on the back of the card with the Cubs and the Indians, but he was not assigned to a team at that point. I don't know if they thought maybe he might be coming up. It sounds like he might have had a tryout with the Yankees at that point. So when I looked a little bit more about him, he only played one season, and that was not until 1947 with the St. Louis Browns. He's a pitcher. He appeared in 19 games, won one, didn't lose any, but his ERA was 4.89, and that was it. So that was his cup of coffee, but it came 14 years later after getting a card. Now, I don't know enough about the 33 Goudey set to know if there's a lot of minor leaguers in there. I don't know if that's atypical that you find some minor league players that are in this set, but I thought that was kind of an interesting thing, having that one in there. And then back to the guy I normally work with, I was able to pick up some, he had some cool 1952 Topps cards. So I'm going to show you some players I picked up, starting with Ted Kluszynski. All these are probably fair to very good condition. This is probably the best of the three I picked up. Well, maybe the third one I'll show you will be from this guy. They're all red backs on there. Not a Hall of Famer, but definitely a well-known player from the 1950s, often known for showing his big guns because he had big arms. He was an active player from 47 to 61, primarily with Cincinnati, but he also was with Pittsburgh for a period of time and also with my White Sox, and finished his career with the LA Dodgers. Hit over 40 home runs in 3 different seasons. He was a 4-time All-Star and was primarily a first baseman. A pretty iconic card there. I think it's really pops out to me. I like that one a lot. I was able to pick up Ted. Put Ted in the background over there next to Enos for now. Next one was a red Shandies. This one unfortunately has kind of a crease down the middle. It doesn't show so much up on the camera, but it still is a pretty sharp card to me in my mind. I'm happy to be able to have it in my collection. Red, obviously a Hall of Fame ball player, primarily with the St. Louis Cardinals, although he also played with the Braves, I know, for a period of time, and won 2 World Series. He was a 10-time All-Star, was in the Hall of Fame in 1989. His career WAR was 44.5, but it was also known as be a really good fielder for his time, too, in his era. Also had a very good managing career when he started in 65. And was primarily a manager through the 70s with all the St. Louis Cardinals, and then came back briefly in 1990. In fact, I think he's got a card in 1990 Topps Traded as a manager. He won over 1,000 games, with one World Series, and appeared in another one the following year in 1968 when they lost to the Detroit Tigers. Was a coach for the Cardinals for many, many years, and a special instructor for many years thereafter. I think he actually, in the Cardinals' history, probably wore the uniform longer than anybody else. So we got our little red Shandies over here, and actually that's red over there is 53 Bowman Color. Also ended up getting a Johnny Mize, the 1952 Topps Johnny Mize. This was probably the best condition card I'd be able to pick up. The Big Cat, pull my notes here. Played from 36 to 53, had an interruption when he was in active duty during World War II from about 4 seasons. He's a 10-time All-Star, won 5 World Series, played with the Giants, the Yankees, the Cardinals, and I think there may have been a 4th team in there if I'm not mistaken. He entered the Hall of Fame in 1981 at a WAR of 70.7. Career .312 hitter, hit 359 home runs, had over 2,000 hits. A lot of individual season accolades. He led the league at some point in his career at least once in home runs, RBIs, triples, batting average, slugging, OPS, doubles, and also runs. So this guy was quite the slugger during his era. And you can see here he is, pitcher with the Yankees, who's part of their great benches here in the early parts of the 1950s. This is also a red back here. And you can see that it's going to go nicely over here with his 1953 Topps card, which is over here in the corner. So I'll just kind of put that one off to the side here. I think we'll move Ted over so we can feature Johnny. All right, and then going back to the first dealer I bought something from, that's where I got the Goudeys from as well. I was able to get a Joe Collins 1952 Topps card on that little lot too. He was able to do a deal with me, so I was pretty happy with getting all 4 of the cards for the price I got. Joe Collins was a career Yankee, 48 through 57, never played for anybody else. He was a backup first baseman and right fielder and was part of 5 World Series teams. There's Joe Collins. And off the side, and then the final card I purchased was actually the only one that actually is going to be kind of working towards my set, and that would be the 1953 Bowman Color Phil Rizzuto and Billy Martin card. There's one other card that features more than one player in the 1953 Bowman Color set. It also features Yankees, and it's the famous one with Berra, Bauer, and Mickey Mantle. But here it is. Here's the other one that's kind of in the set. So I was happy to be able to pick that one up. It has a very clean back on it. Definitely has some wear on the corners, so it's far from perfect and a little bit of creasing. Really wouldn't grade out much more than maybe a 1 or a 2 overall. But I'm happy to be able to put it into the collection. So I'm happy to be able to add that one in. And we'll just kind of hold him in the background here, maybe stick him right next to Enos. And there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one. And we'll be back later this week.